So let me see so far what we have done. Still working. This is taking too much of space. Okay, this is what been done. I think the registration page. I yet to persist. If you have completed, fine. But if not, I'll probably write the code. And we already have an option to pick an image from a camera source or the uh, SD card or from any various apps. So I already gave you an implicit intent calling one of an example. We have various implicit intents, like you can put a dialer of your own, not actually dialer of your own. For example, if you put a phone number, if you give a click button, you can directly place a phone call from your app itself. So it will automatically redirect the app to a dialer, and there your phone will be number will be put, and you can directly either place the call or you can simply display the dialer screen, or from here you can display the email screen, or you can go to the messaging screen. So implicit intent means any intent which is already there, or any application which is already there in your app phone. You can, if you know the intent name, if you know the activity name, you can call it and have the navigation provided. And of course, on activity result plays an important role here, because when your application goes out of different application, you need to depend on activity result to get back if any status returned by the intent which actually closed. Okay, I would like to do some sort of design changes here. As I said, I'm going to keep two primary activities. One activity which is right now we are seeing, which simply displays the kind of pin number or something, and I want to keep that into a fragment itself, so that I'll put the register into a tab instead of action bar. And when the user successfully logs in, the another activity will come. That's where we are going to place the entire business logic of our application. So I'm going to move this. I don't want an activity to do this job, register activity. So you need to do certain design changes. Okay. Go and make it as a fragment. This additional stuff we don't want. Login fragment, which will only display the login box. Edit, refresh. Of late, these guys are getting slower. Another one I'm going to need. It's going to be you may be wondering why I am moving them into a fragment. The main purpose of fragment is a reusability, because the register fragment I may use it again for seeing my registered data as well. Not only for newly registering, I may use the same for seeing my already entered data for editing purpose, like my account. I'm going to put a link over there, so I can reuse them. If I tie up everything within the activity, probably everything goes out of control. So I'm going to move every code to fragments here, So I'm going to keep only main activity which holds both the fragments and load whenever required. So I need to do certain design changes here, but not much the coding side. But we need to design register fragment is already contain a layout called fragment register. So with this register activity, I'm going to move it over here. This activity register layout, the entire part of a code. I'm going to move it. This code goes to fragment. I move the guys to here, so let us move the source codes also. The register fragment register activity contain various things. So this part I need to move it. Before that, let me copy the codes one by one so that I do not mess up. Okay, imports. Okay, here come a slightly complicated procedures. Okay, apart from that, I'll copy other parts. I really don't want the menus to do the job. I'm not going to keep the menus. Show image. Except the first one, I'm going to keep others. Do it. Couple of errors possible. Okay, because this guy is different. Copy this part alone slightly later. This constant was actually from the activity, so still make sure it will disappear. This is actually because we are inside the fragments, we need to do certain adjustments to get this. Somehow we managed to get them on. Okay, but here, this part is going to be a little complicated. So set content view had these objects inside, but in our case we are going to inflate it using a fragment, so that contains a layout. Inside these components are present. So first thing, I need to write a couple of coding before getting into it. It's okay. View, sorry. view group or view, both the same. The same code. In fact, it's not copying. Okay, so let me copy them now. So these guys are going to be inside this view group because it is actually inside an inflated layout, and this is going to be get activity. Yeah, that looks fine. Image views actually inside it. Adapters. Okay, I moved everything to a fragment. Similarly, I have to move the main activity code to a fragment as well. It's pretty easy because only the code I need to copy. Yeah, I already copied. Okay, I already copied them. Now I'm going to modify the main activity. I'm going to clear it out. First thing, my first job is to remove this link. So that the menu does not appear. Activity main, time being I'll just clear the content so that I'll at least get an empty view. Okay, there's no menu, nothing. So here two fragments should be loaded. I want to put it into a tab, or not exactly the tab. I want to put it to a swipe mode. For example, user can simply swipe to see the registration screen and come back to for a login. I think that kind of designs are getting popular nowadays. So we have one. Before that, I'll probably remove the not required register activity. If any error comes, we will have a trouble, but let's see that at a different point. How to load the fragment here? There are various ways to load it. Uh, activity main as of now contains nothing. If you really want to load a fragment here, there are obvious thing. This particular thing could be a frame layout, because frame layout, as we say, we use it for our placeholder purpose, so any layout can be loaded on that. So using fragment transaction, I can very well load any fragments here. One of an exercise we already did it, but for just a clarity, I'll write it. So I may need a. This also I'll delete it off. So delete. Remember, I only have one activity, but two fragments I have. I need an ID. Just frame. Fragment manage. Sorry, I hope I imported the right fragment manager. This is very important. Get support fragment manager gives you a support fragment manager mean it will add the fragment capability to a previous versions having a API level starting from 4 itself. You are already using 8, so if you really want to see the fragment feature, you need to use a get fragment support manager. If you are using a devices which is having a higher version API level more than I think it's 14, I remember, uh, you can directly use a fragment manager. So it's a support package. Run me a fragment transaction. So as transaction received, using the fragment transaction, you can either add or replace. Replace would be fine because I can load multiple fragments over there. So the one which you are trying to load, I can safely use it as a normal Java object. So it's called login fragment. Sorry. Replace with what? You want to replace it with the frame. So inside the frame layout, if any fragments of a present, it will replace with this login fragment. But in fact, it's going to be empty to start with. So the login fragment is nothing but where we move the source code to a fragment. So I should see the login screen since I'm loading the login fragment on the top of this. Let me try if any error comes. Showing errors. Don't say anything. Oh, that's very important. Commit. Okay, got it. So now the view is loaded through a fragment. So this is an empty activity inside a fragment has got loaded. I would like to load the registration fragment also, maybe through a button or a tab, so that it can be loaded. In fact, action bar is actually having a tab bar capability as well because action bar has a built-in tab system, but due to some reason it's been deprecated. In fact, the last batch I used one of an example using action bar tab, but that time it was deprecated. Deprecation in terms of software development, certain APIs are consider in future to be removed. So it means when sufficient support is added, that API will not work, that source code won't work. It means if your phone is upgraded, right now your phone is running a 4.4 version where the API is supported. And maybe Android when introduces Android 5.5, that API may be removed. set to be removed. That time your code would not work. So if anything considered deprecated where your Android document try to say, okay, it's set to deprecate, mean try not to use it, because in a longer term that code would not work. So for that, Android gives an alternate option to load a tab content using ViewPager. It's pretty easy, in fact, the last one was slightly difficult. I do understand why Android removed it, because it was some sort of difficult. The tab is created separately, where the view is created separately, and I need to sync it manually. When a tab is clicked, I need to load a different view. When a view changed, the tab I need to adjust. Still, I have the source code. Probably you can, if you have a time, you can see that in the one of an exercise in my website. But this one, I'm going to use the latest one, ViewPager. I'm going to use a ViewPager here. ViewPager is a support one. I need to find where it is exactly. Pager. It is actually here in a path. This is the way I have to find the exact path of certain layouts. So instead of frame layout, I'm going to put view pager. View pager is a container. It means it adds a paging capability to your view. Mean you can swipe, and as it moves to different pages, you can simply swipe it off. Then it will load the multiple fragments. Of course, since it is going to take multiple values, you need to have an adapter put in place. So it has an exclusive adapter, but the ViewPager adds a more credibility to a tab-based environment, because it has a built-in tab system which you can simply tap and move it between. So I'm going to use that. This time I'm going to make it as a pager. This gravity stuff, I really don't see anything. ViewPager available as part of support library. You should use the same one. So Android support v4 ViewPager. Of course, I need to modify the code here, because I use a fragment transaction stuff having in mind it is a frame layout, but it is not now. I'll comment it for your reference. As we always do. Remember, I'm writing this particular part in an activity. This activity going to contain a view pager. Inside the view pager, both the fragments are going to be loaded. Okay. Now need to load the pagers. We need an adapter, because it is going to load a more number of views, more number of fragments. There is a pager. I'll do one thing. I may need to, because view pager adapter is slightly abstract one. It contains certain abstract methods. So I need to create my own pager adapter, then of course extend it from a view pager adapter. So let me see, private class. Extends. It's actually fragment pager adapter. This suggestion will take time. It asks me which fragment to be loaded, how many fragments you want to load. Okay, still errors. What that? Need a constructor. Yeah, the constructor should be supplied with the fragment manager instance. That's great, because without the fragment manager we cannot load the fragments. Adapter For your comfortability, I'll do one thing, my page adapter. Need instance of get support fragment manager. Pages adapter. That's good. Now I have two fragments, so I just automatically tell that okay, I'm going to load two fragments inside the pager adapter. What are all they? I'll do one thing. I'll have those things already initialized just before the pager. The first one is a login fragment. The second one, register fragment. I have two fragments which I wanted to load inside the page loader, page view pager. I'm going to need them as a global. So these things have been defined global. So it needs a fragment. Let me put a switch case. Case 0, break. Case 1. I only have two fragments, so only case 0 and 1 the position is going to give me, because the total count I have supplied 2, so its index will have 0, 1. Only 2 items it will get repeated. Make sure you automatically adjust it according to the number of fragments you would like to load. In my case, I have only 2 fragments. If you have multiple fragments, make sure, if you have 10 fragments, make sure you enter 10 here and put a condition accordingly. So I'm going to load 2 fragments. So return login fragment to start with. That register. 2 fragments are going to be loaded. And this guy is showing some sort of error. Let me see. Expected, because a return statement should be called at the end. The break is actually not needed at all. Okay, I don't think the switch case would be reliable at this point because it has to execute certain things. I'll do one thing instead of switch case. We have one more conditional statement which will make our life much easier. I just put else because I don't have anything other than the first one. So, or you can, if you want to put else if also, fine. Make sure. Sorry, one. It's up to you. Anything goes other than this. Returns not. Okay, I've got it. You can notice I can swipe to see the other one. Keeps me more nice professional look and feel. If you really want to register, just swipe it and go ahead and register and come back to it. If I put some sort of heading, it will be even nicer. So we have to think about adding the tab on the top. But somehow the view pager loads the fragments dynamically inside one single activity. And by swiping it, I can see the another fragment. Of course, the code remains same. Let me test it whether it picks the camera stuff. If anything goes wrong, I have to identify that to address. Works, so no problem. Okay, so let me put a tab on the top. That it is actually view pager tab. Once again, I have a source code here. Inside the view pager, you can implement one pager title strip. It will add a strip on the top. It is same like your normal text view kind of thing. Simply they have given a blue background. I remember text color into white, top padding, some sort of thing has been given. Page title strip instead tab I can use, but let me see how the strip is going to put. First, let's see how the strip is looking. In fact, I'm not going to expect anything because I haven't added any code for a strip. Okay, so this blue one, it is actually a strip. It should tell where you are currently, which fragment is currently showing. So I need to add some code to have that part visible. It is actually part of your adapter, fragment adapter. You need to, this method is an abstract, inherited method, but it's not abstract. Something get page title. Yeah, here is this one. In every title, every position, what's the title you'd like to display? So you can put maybe the same one. I'll do it. That. Everything goes, we'll say, just empty. This part is unreachable because anyway it is going to type within this only based on the position which title you'd like to display. Let's put some sort of title over here so I can see where I'm in. What is the previous one also? Slightly it is grayed out but still showing. There is an option to swipe. It's a built-in one, but it is not clickable. To make it clickable, I do have a way. Pager title strip. I hope it is tab strip. Yeah, tab strip. If you make it as a pager tab strip, let me slightly make it some sort of, who's that guy? Talking much louder than me. So now if you see, I can click and decide what I really want to do. So I want to log in. I can go ahead and enter the PIN number, and go ahead and log in and launch the new activity. Or if I want to register, I'll go here and register all the stuff. And probably if I want, I can come back if required. So that's it. A simple design change. The application looks much clean, neat. So user has been given an option either to log in or register within a single activity itself. The whole thing has been moved to a fragment now. Now we need to go ahead and persist everything and have this part working so that it maintains the logging part. So uh, the next activity, once I enter all the stuff, create a new pin for me, and when I register it, and I should be taken to a login screen again where I will enter my pin number, and when I click on login I should be taken to a activity where the SMS reply or the main code is going to come. I'm going to add it. If you had completed already, no mind, but I'll just go ahead and finish it because I need to finish it in order to make the next part working. I'll have my activity created, so that's where I'm going to display SMS. Activities are TTVP. If you notice the hierarchical parent, if you see this link, I hope you have noticed, I can define this main activity is my parent, the one is the second activity. It will automatically put the back button. But previously we had to implement the action bar and do programmatically. But here you can directly enter it if you require. But I really don't want. But if required. Okay, let me have it. Why not? Just keep it. So what actually has made it mean, if you notice in the manifest, you'll see a couple of entries. This register activity is no more now. The SMS replier activity is being defined, but it has an additional metadata information stating this is the main activity is its parent. So what way it is going to make a difference, I'll show you how. Assuming the user has pressed the login button. So I need to initialize my login button. Fragment login. I do have a login button having an ID login BTN. It's right now inside a fragment. To do the job, I need to have view group or view so that the inner childs can also be initialized. Take it everything. And return it. Same like implements on click listener for button. Whatever I used to do in activity, I'm going to do it here as well. Set on click listener this. So it's where it is going to come and execute. Intent. Instead of this, I'm going to make it get activity and where I'm going to launch SMS replier. So when the button gets clicked, it will try to launch a new activity. The control will go outside of your fragment. Remember, we are just going out of it. When I launch it, if you see this back button is by default has been put. Just it has been put, nothing else. So previously we had to do it through an action bar, set home page, something up enabled, then have the menu thing implemented, everything I had to do. Now it has been done automatically. That's it. That's the only difference you get if you define as a hierarchy child or something. Never mind at this point, let it be, because the user, we may probably treat this as a logout button at this point, because I will be anyway modifying this. I want to put a hamburger menu instead of this back button here. So hamburger menu will open a navigation drawer. In that, the last option would be logout. So I will end up replacing it, but just I wanted to show you, if you define it as a parent-child relationship, this particular part would be directly put. So I had to come to this part, so that's why I just shown you how this thing works. Okay, now let me go ahead and add the, what do you call, persistence, preferences. I have a big work here. Let me organize my code slightly. I create a new package. I maintain series. The last one alone I'm changing utility so that I can reuse it. Just create a new package. Just simply I'm arranging my code so I can put my files into various places. I'm going to create a simple class. Okay, I say we have to save a couple of datas here. I'm going to add a preference manager here. So public static. Need a lot of keys. The pin itself is a key. Pin first name. This is nothing new. You know this part already. You would have done it in various ways. Last name. What else we have? Email. I put an underscore to make sure I'm not using a reserved words. Email. Couple of things which may require default stuff. default gender. So since I'm going to keep it as integer stuff, yeah, I'm not going to need this. Maybe the default pin alone would be needed. First name, last name could be empty strings. As we know, we are going to need a constructor for editors. This time I don't want to have a constructor, so I want to use it in a static way. You see, this is for pin. Remember, I'm using a static keyword because the persistency I can directly handle instead of new keyword, public class. Or I don't need to use SMS reply or new SMS reply or something. I can directly access them. I don't want to use a setter getter stuff to make much. I mean, another set of strings to be used because the key itself a reference point. Get pin, set pin, it's been done. Like that I would like to do for all. It's not we do have a first name, last name, or just how we create it? We don't know. We do have a last name. Okay. else we have? Email, phone. Okay, phone, gender. Gender, I'm going to take it as an integer. Male, female, everything written. And the photo. Photo slightly tricky here. We copied, I think. Okay, so it's a bit bigger. So I managed to complete. So this is where I'm going to store everything. Time to go to the register fragment. I need to initialize all the edit texts. Let me go through that, whether it has all IDs defined. Okay, edit text, enter pin. Okay, pin 2 was there. First name, last name, spinner, phone, email. Everything is there. I think all IDs have been already defined here. No need to go to the fragment and initialize all the edit texts. First pin, last name, which another one. It's all done. And I have one spinner which has already been initialized here, and I do have uh, an image view that has also been initialized here. Okay, so the image view, if anything got stored, I need to. Okay, anyway, this is part is not actually required. If we can save the pin number itself is more than enough. Anyway, this particular page I'm going to use only for registration, not for editing purpose. So I don't need to show anything, whatever my uh, registration data has been saved here. That I'll do it when I display my account, some other link inside. There's one more button needed. Okay, here I'm going to save everything. First thing I need to validate the pin is entered.